Now this one's so interesting. This video was made by a creator by the name of Templar Khan with only 1,000 subscribers, but it's called The Masculine Urge to Slowly Bleed Out in the Snow. I got no idea what the fuck this is talking about, but this reached 124x his max subscriber count, so I'm assuming the video is going to bang. So let's talk about it.
You've probably seen it. A photograph of an empty, snowy street. Cold, lamplit, quiet. And beneath it, the caption, "The masculine urge to slowly bleed out here." And men, thousands of men, responded with one word. Same. Now, at face value,
It's because Game of Thrones got these people brainwashed, bro. I'm good. Hey, hell no. Although, I'm not going to lie. Actually, you know what? Now that they say it, fighting in a huge war in a snow-covered field and dying to serve your country as the snow slowly adopts the color of your blood. That is a beautiful imagery.
this is just
You know what? I get it.
dark internet humor. But I've been thinking about it for a long time. And I don't think it's just a meme. I think it's men, quietly, ironically, articulating something
Oh
they've
my
never had the
God.
language for. Something about pressure, about performance, and what it would feel like to finally stop, to work towards a great purpose and succeed. But today, we're going to get to the bottom of it. Originally shared on Reddit's liminal space community back in 2022, the caption read, "The masculine urge to slowly bleed out here."
I mean, it's fair. We as men are programmed from birth to bust our ass every single day, even me. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably agree. I probably have more money than anybody watching this video. And I'm not saying that as a flex. I'm saying that because it's most likely true. 99.9% of people watching this video have less money than me. And there's nothing wrong with that. But even a guy like me, where I have all this money, I have all the success, even like this, I cannot wait till I get to the moment where I can finally just stop. And that doesn't mean retire. I look forward to the day where all of my money goes to my children, and hopefully they will live a easier life with less than I have had to deal with. I don't really, like, oh my God, bro, I can't wait till I get to go to Bermudas or Japan. Like, sure, I'll probably go there, but I don't give a. The number one thing I want in my life is to just stop worrying about the system and stop worrying about having to be a cog in modern society. But then I get to the point where I realize my children will befall the same fate that I did, which is money. Money controls anyone and everything. And I remember being 16, 17, 18, horrified of the idea that I have to get such an absurd amount of money to where the average person doesn't retire until they're 65. 65. And the average lifespan is 77. Meaning after working for 80% of your life, you get 20% off. And I feel like that's so disgusting. Back in the day, a minimum wage job would be enough to support a family of 5. Now it doesn't do that. We're all just slaves to this never-ending cycle of work, and even the people on the top haven't escaped yet. I remember when $1 million used to be something. Now, $1 million, that might keep you good for like 25, 30 years. And I want you to look at this. Like, look. Average cost of living annually, Texas. The average cost of living is $42,000 to $45,000, which is insane, by the way. So before, $1 million would keep you good for the rest of your life. It would keep your family good for the rest of their lives. Now, it might keep you good for 20 years. It might keep you good for 25 years. $1 million is not enough to retire. That is crazy. That is crazy. And so people just want to fight for something they're proud of so they can finally relax.
But why this image? Why that caption?
And that's why you want to bleed out in the snow, because you're tired and you just want to break.
The meme references a very specific trope in film and television. The male protagonist who is mortally wounded, who finds a quiet, beautiful place, and who dies alone, on his own terms. Not screaming, not fighting, just accepting. And it brings relief. The most well-known example is Officer K in Blade Runner 2049, lying on snow-covered steps, watching snowflakes fall as life leaves him. Other examples include Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop collapsing on a staircase at the end of the series. These aren't accidents. These are the characters of men who carry impossible weight, who perform without complaint, and who suffer without asking for help. And when they die beautifully. They die and can finally let go. That's what men are really reaching for with this meme. Not death. The beauty of it, the dignity of it, the relief of it. But one can't get to that point without living for a purpose. But here's the question we need to sit with. Why does that feel like relief? Before we get to the philosophy, let's talk about what's actually happening. Officer K is quite literally a manufactured being, a replicant, created to serve, programmed to comply, stripped of agency. He lives within the system designed to control him, and he obeys those systems. Not out of conviction, but because that's what he was made to do. Maybe that sounds familiar. Men today feel that they must perform. Perform strength, perform confidence, perform utility, be productive, be reliable, don't complain, don't ask for help, don't feel too much. Your value is in what you do, not what you are. And over time, perhaps...
This is very true. What does every parent of your girlfriend ask? Think about this. What your parents ask of your girlfriend is, what does she look like? Your girlfriend's parents will ask their daughter, what does he do? Men are only what they provide. And that's it. That's the God's honest truth. You are what you provide. You are what you do. Nothing else.
That performance becomes a prison. The snowy street in that meme represents the only space where that performance collapses. Empty, indifferent, nobody watching, nobody judging, nobody needing anything from you. It's an exhale. The finally. It's not a desire to die. It's a desire to stop pretending. To understand why this feeling is so specifically masculine and why it's surfacing right now, we need to go to the philosophers. Because men have been grappling with this, the weight of suffering, the indifference of the universe, and the desperate need for meaning for a very long time. So let's take a look at Albert Camus and Friedrich Nietzsche. Albert Camus called it the absurd, not an adjective, a noun, a condition. The absurd is the gap between what we need and what the universe offers in return. What we need is meaning, purpose, and reason. What the universe offers is silence, cold, and unreasonable indifference. In the myth of Sisyphus, Camus argues that the answer is revolt, a conscious decision to keep living in full awareness of the absurdity, not because you've solved the problem, but because the act of living in defiance of meaninglessness is itself a form of dignity. Sisyphus pushes his boulder back up the mountain, it rolls back down. He pushes it again, he knows that it will roll back down, but he does it anyway. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Now, here's where modern men tend to go wrong. A lot of men encounter this idea, or something like it, through the lens of modern stoicism. The podcasts, the quote, the embrace the grind mindset. And they take from it a kind of aesthetic to indifference. The cold showers, the silence, the 1,000-yard stare. Suffering is a brand for them, and that's a misreading. Camus isn't telling you to feel nothing. He's telling you to feel everything, the full weight of absurdity, and continue anyway. Stoicism, properly understood, is the same.
Marcus Aurelius, baby, I'm telling you, read Meditations. It will change your perspective on life. I am telling you, bro, another quoting Marcus Aurelius. Read Meditations. It's short. You can get through it in like 4 hours. I've read it 3 times. Read this book. It's even more. Just listen to it on Audible. It's so good.
Marcus Aurelius wasn't numb. He was disciplined in spite of feeling deeply. Read Meditations, and you'll find a man in constant anguish. A man who lost children, who was surrounded by betrayal, who watched an empire he never asked to lead slowly fracture. He writes to himself, not for the brand. He's trying daily to hold himself together. That's not indifference. That's a man white-knuckling his way through an extraordinary life using philosophy as the only tool he has. That's what Stoicism actually looks like, not the cold showers. It's a man, alone, writing in a journal, admitting how hard it is, and then getting up anyway.
Yep.
The danger of the aesthetic version is that it becomes another performance, another costume. You're not confronting the void, you're posturing at it.
Yep.
Because the meme isn't stoic, it's honest. There's no performance in that snowy street. There's just a man, alone, finally admitting something true. But, and this is crucial, Camus would still say you haven't earned that moment until you've revolted, until you've pushed the boulder. The beautiful death is not a shortcut to authenticity. You don't get to the snow without the struggle that precedes it. Friedrich Nietzsche goes a little further. From his 1873 notebook, Nietzsche wrote, "I know of no better life purpose than to perish in attempting the great and the impossible." For Nietzsche, the goal was never the destination. The goal was the quality of the attempt. A man who dies having truly pursued something vast, something that demanded everything from him, has not wasted his life. And this is why Nietzsche urges us. The secret for harvesting from existence, but the greatest fruitfulness and the greatest enjoyment, is to live dangerously. Build your cities on the slopes of Vesuvius and send your ships into uncharted seas. But Nietzsche's point is that living safely, choosing comfort over intensity, security over meaning, that is the real death.
Absolutely.
You become a spectator to your own life.
Yep.
Here's what Nietzsche is actually saying.
That is a beautiful quote. It's the same thing that I say all the time. If what you have acquired, what you have accomplished is easy and everybody else has already done it, then you have accomplished nothing. That is why there is no reason to not attempt to do what others have not, because that is the only thing that is actually valuable. That is the only thing that will provide you with a meaningful life is hard work, because hard work is the only thing that can get you to somewhere new. And that's what's beautiful about life, is being a discoverer.
The dying that matters. It's the attempting.
Yes.
The great
Even if you
and
fail.
impossible.
Even if you
Is
fail.
the point.
Because then people can learn from your mistakes, and then they can use that knowledge to hopefully find something better.
Let's review Officer K in Spike Spiegel quickly one more time. K begins the film as a man with no authentic self. He's a Nexus 9 replicant built to hunt down older replicants who won't retire. He follows orders, he exists within a system. Then the story cracks him open. He discovers what appears to be a miracle, a replicant who was born, not made. He dares to believe it might be him. He builds a fragile identity around this hope. And then that identity is taken from him. He's not the miracle child. His memories are fabricated. Everything he was beginning to believe about himself was in fact a lie. At this moment, stripped of everything, K faces the same question Camus posed. Why continue? And he does something extraordinary. He makes a choice that has nothing to do with programming. He sacrifices himself so that a man he barely knows can be reunited with his daughter. Not because he's ordered to, because he decides it's worth doing. That decision is the most human thing that K has ever done. It proves that he is more than just his programming. It proves that he has a will, a self, that exists beyond what is installed in him. And then he lies down on the snowy steps and watches the snow fall. He is at peace. The relief you feel watching that scene, the relief men identify with, is not relief at death. It's relief at the sight of a man who finally chose, who found in the very last act of his life something worth doing, something that was his, a purpose. Let's talk about one of my favorites, Spike Spiegel in Cowboy Bebop. He carries a different kind of wound. He drifts through Cowboy Bebop haunted. His entire life is lived in the past, in the memory of Julia, a vicious of the syndicate he tried to leave. He's physically present, but existentially absent. He's half of a man. And finally, something breaks open for him.
God, bro, maybe I need to give Cowboy Bebop another shot, bro. I don't know why. I never connected with this show at all. And I drop it every single time I get to the episode where everybody's like on drugs and like Ein is like walking through the spaceship. I don't know why. I drop this show every time around like episode 8, I think it is. Maybe I should finally just sit down and watch the whole thing.
He says to Faye, "I'm not going there to die. I'm going to find out if I'm really alive." That's everything right there. That is the line. He doesn't go to fight Vicious because he wants to die. He goes because he needs to know if he was ever actually here, in his own life. And the only way to find that out is to face the thing he's been running from. He defeats Vicious, he's mortally wounded, and falls. You're going to carry that weight. That weight is the weight of a life that meant something, not despite the suffering, because of it. Because Spike didn't drift forever. He faced his past. He settled his account. He answered his life. And the carrying of that weight falls to the people who loved him. It's the weight of grief because there was something real to grieve. You only bleed out beautifully if you lived beautifully first.
Very true.
Now we come to the most important voice in this conversation.
Great quote.
Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist. He was also a prisoner in concentration camps. He lost his parents, his brother, his wife. He was stripped of everything a man can be stripped of. And from that experience, he wrote the book, A Man's Search for Meaning. It is a must-read and one of the most widely read books of this century. His central insight is deceptively simple and goes directly to the heart of what we've been discussing. Suffering without meaning is despair. Suffering with meaning is endurance, and sometimes transformation. If there is a meaning in life at all, then there must be a meaning in suffering and dying. But no man can tell another what his purpose is. Each must find out for himself and must accept the responsibility that his answer prescribes. Notice what he's saying. He's not offering you a purpose. He's not telling you what to live for. He's saying that's your job. And refusing to do that job is the real source of modern male despair. Frankl observed something in the camps that changed everything for him. The men who survived were not necessarily the strongest or the healthiest. They were the ones who still had something waiting for them. A manuscript to complete, a child to return,
That's awesome.
A question to answer, or a person to save.
It's like the father buff. Fathers, on average, make more than single men because they have something to work hard for, which I think is beautiful. You know, when you have a reason to live, when you have a purpose, you operate at levels that you previously thought were unrealistic.
Frankl tells the story of a man in the camps who made a private pact with heaven that his suffering and death would spare someone he loved from a painful end. That man died, but he died with meaning. Frankl writes, "For this man, suffering and death were meaningful. His was a sacrifice of deepest significance. He did not want to die for nothing. None of us wanted that." That's the whole topic, broken down into 6 words. Frankl's answer is the most important idea in this entire essay, and I encourage you to read his book. He says, we had to learn ourselves, and furthermore, we had to teach the despairing men that it did not really matter what we expected from life, but rather what life expected from us. Kay doesn't find meaning by deciding that his life should have purpose. He finds it by recognizing that someone needs something that only he can provide. Deckard needs to see Anna, and responding to that purpose with everything he has. Spike doesn't find freedom by being handed a new life. He finds it by finally responding to the thing his past has been asking from him. The truth, the settling of the account, the completion of what was unfinished. The purpose was always there. They just had to answer it. Frankl continues, we must never forget that we may also find the meaning in life even when confronted with a hopeless situation, when facing a fate that cannot be changed. For what then matters is to bear witness to the uniquely human potential at its best, which is to transform a personal tragedy into a triumph. That's Kay, that's Spike, that's anyone who has taken the weight of their suffering and offered it to something beyond themselves. So why this meme, and why so specifically now? Because the conditions Frankl diagnosed have intensified, living without meaning, living without purpose. And the masculine urge meme format itself began in 2021 with lighter jokes, such as the masculine urge to avoid therapy. This meme has been building towards this. Each meme in the format is a small, ironic acknowledgement that men are—
It is very hard to commit to therapy, even when you know that you need it. Like, I've dabbled with it, but I've never remained consistent with it. Because it is very difficult to stay, and it's so stupid because I know it's so good for you, but for certain men or men like me, it makes me feel uncomfortable. It does. It really does, because I've been drilled into me that talking about your feelings is like for pussies. Yet I always tell my audience that they should, and I know it's what's best for me. And I know it's what's best for them, but remaining consistent with therapy is just so difficult, bro.
Trapped in patterns that they can see but can't escape. The bleed out struck a nerve because it reached the existential floor. It stopped being a joke about male quirks and became a fantasy about male liberation. Liberation from the constructed self and from the performance. The snow is indifference. It falls whether you suffer or not, whether you matter or not, whether you lived well or poorly, it doesn't care. And in that indifference, as Camus knew, there is a strange freedom. When the universe doesn't assign your meaning, you are free to create it. And that's what this meme is reaching for, even if the men posting it couldn't quite name it. They want the freedom of the snow, they want the honesty of the blood, and they want the relief of this moment when the performance ends. They just haven't yet built the life that makes that moment beautiful instead of merely bleak. So why do men want to bleed out in the snow? Because they want permission to stop. They want a moment of total honesty. They want to believe that when the end comes, it will mean something, that they will have mattered, even briefly, even quietly, even if only to one other person. They want what Kay had, what Spike had. They want the snow and the silence and the dignity of a man who gave everything for something real. And here's the truth, drawn from Camus, from Nietzsche, and Frankl. You cannot bleed out beautifully without first living purposefully. The relief only comes after the pursuit. The peace only comes after the fight. If you perished or were willing to perish, attempting something great and meaningful. Spike didn't find peace because life got easier. He found it because he finally answered his life instead of drifting through it. And the men posting snowy streets on socials, they're not asking to die. They're asking, give me something worth dying for so that I can actually live. I know of no better life purpose than to perish in attempting the great and the impossible.
If there's one takeaway, amazing video, by the way. If there's one takeaway from this video, it's not that men want to die. It's that they just want to achieve something that gave their life purpose. So whatever you're putting off because it's difficult, just go and dedicate your life to doing that thing and make it happen. That's pretty much it.